Hello, everybody. This is Ishneet, Marketing Manager at Fractional CMO. And you are listening to this podcast where we introduce the world of revenue operations and answer this question for you. What does an effective revenue operations business model look like to help businesses scale their revenue and grow? So, first of all, let's welcome our guests for today. We have Omkar Nadh, who is a marketing operations manager, and he is also the founder of Marketing Ops India Group. He has around 15 plus years of experience in sales and marketing operations and has helped multiple businesses grow their revenue. We have Srikanth Vadrevu, who is a senior marketing ops manager at Clarivate. He has around a decade of experience leveraging revenue operations as the key driver to a business growth. We have Shreyansh Surana, who is a revenue operations leader himself with 15 plus years of experience in driving more revenue for every dollar that each client of his spends. Welcome, everybody, and thanks a lot for joining us on this podcast. We are absolutely thrilled to have each one of you.
Likewise.
Thanks,
Great.
Ishneet.
Yep. So let's start. I'll have my very first question, and that's for you, Omkar. So, can you please explain what is revenue operations and why is it crucial for modern businesses?
So revenue operations is technically people term it as RevOps, and that's how people recognize these teams across the companies. And I think this phrase has started a few, or I would say less than a decade back. Basically, what's happening is previously we never had a team that can build and bridge across the functions. So that's how rev operations or revenue operations came into the existence. So what exactly revenue operations does is basically it aligns and optimizes the functions within the organization, such as sales, marketing, customer success, and technology integrations and everything. Basically, all these things needs to be aligned for us to have certain revenue growth within the company. If they are not aligned, everyone is not really trying to focus on one specific objective, but rev operations, what it does is it gets everyone onto the same lines and then focus on one individual goal, that is overall revenue performance. Yep. Hope I have answered.
Yep. So, thanks for that. Shrikant and Shreyansh, what are your thoughts on how would you explain revenue operations and why do you think it's crucial for businesses today?
I think building on what Om has mentioned, I think it's the alignment piece. What was kind of a key challenge across different teams and across companies as well. From whether it's a big size company, it has its own challenges. The mid size and the startup kind of brings its own challenges as well. So once these three kind of key teams came into picture and they kind of started thinking in terms of how we should be going to market, what should we kind of help in solving the overall puzzle, what are we bringing to the table, how are we going to solve that, and then kind of it kind of translated into minute pieces that each and everyone can own and kind of also deliver on those. So I think that kind of has finally embraced by all the different teams. It may not be kind of streamlined as operationalized as it should be, but I think people, companies, and teams have been adopting in their own ways, and they are trying to come together as one single team who they're interacting with. It can be the customer success, customer support, sales, procurement, whatever would be the interaction touch point be, whatever the interaction channel be. I think end of the day, it's the brand that matters. So I think on those lines, the alignment finally has found its place. And then, yeah, I think it's great to see that being adopted.
I think I would like to add one point here. It's like basically unleashing the power of one rather than four different teams working towards one goal, that is revenue, and then all the teams coming together, focusing on one goal, which is revenue. I think it's, yeah, thanks, Srikant. I think it's unleashing the power of one rather than individual teams together. Over to you, Shreyansh. Or yeah.
I think Shrikant and Om covered it completely. From my perspective, I look at it as an evolution more than like teams now realizing it's an evolution. It all started from marketing operation focus. Then we realized, oh, sales is not aligned with marketing. Something is missing. Then we evolved into a aligned sales and marketing. Then a few years that went on, and then we realized we are bringing in customer. What is happening after that? Then customer success that came in. And now we are realizing there are other teams like your technology team, your finance team. Everybody needs to contribute. And that's where the whole revenue operation ecosystem is building. So it's a complete evolution. And I think there's still a lot of journey to be covered in this evolution. So yeah, I think what Om and Srikanth mentioned as like the teams aligning, and it's slowly maturing as a practice to go to the market in a perfect way. So yeah, Ishneet, I think that's
Okay,
my
that's actually extremely insightful. Shanj, on that note, based on your experience, I have a question that popped up in my mind. Could you give us a real life scenario around how why not having RevOps could impact businesses and slow down their growth? So I know you have a lot of experience around that. So if you could give us a real life scenario, that would help.
so a very classical example. Without revenue operations, what was happening is sales was booking their deals. But as finance was not involved, customer success was not involved, nobody looked into post-sales activity. Was revenue really recognized? Was customer served enough so that the deal which was closed was acquired from a revenue perspective? Was the customer satisfaction at that extent that the churn was brought down? So that alignment is where revenue operation made it successful. Without revenue operation, each of these departments, what Om and Srikanth mentioned, were working on their silos. And very, very few organizations reached to a maturity level where all these organizations were talking to each other in a very cohesive manner. So I think that's where this entire narrative has now become one team, as Srikanth mentioned and Om mentioned, one team, one goal. So it's like that approach. Without that, it's all spiral. You will find success one day, you will fail one day, you will keep experimenting, but you will not get the rhythm. So I think that's the most classical example of why you need a revenue operation team in an org.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for this. Since we are talking about silos between sales, marketing, and other teams under the RevOps function, so Shrikant, how does this one goes for you? How does RevOps basically break down silos between sales, marketing, customer success teams to ultimately drive revenue growth?
Absolutely. I think once we kind of identified whom we want to target, right? So there are kind of initial brainstorming sessions that happen at earlier level in terms of who are the existing key accounts that we have, right? Who are the key clients that we have? What is their adoption level of our product? When you're talking about product, it can be also kind of business and services as well. So once those kind of discussions happen there, customer success teams pitches with their own set of ideas there that can also go to a different team. For example, if they have new features that are being requested, right? We can also add a layer of product management which can be pitched and they can probably build that product roadmap. So in kind of these discussions pave a path to understand what are the challenges that we have ahead, how do we tackle it, right? And what are the best practices that we can learn from our existing relationship with the accounts, right? And take that out and implement with our new target accounts. So marketing can then kind of personalize that message accordingly. Sales, by having those conversations, can have more refined leads that they can probably interact with. All right. And then, yeah, once the conversation happens, then the customer success teams kind of come on board and then see in terms of what are the typical areas or touch points the churn can happen. And they can proactively kind of address those ahead during the product adoption journey there, or during their monthly calls, wherein they kind of interact with customer, understand how the experience has been, what are the issues, where do they need support. So this kind of brings in an overall single-minded perspective of having servicing clients to the best possible extent, all right, from all angles, whether it's in terms of, say, the marketing experience or from a customer success experience or even the sales experience. So customer or a prospect before becoming customer kind of has that consistent experience while interacting with different teams. I think that kind of also paves the impression in terms of how the company or the brand is, what are they getting into, what they can expect in the future. So yeah, I think that for me kind of stands out. Having that consistent experience, I think marketing is all about that. So when we add more of other teams, we kind of are trying to synchronize that and space it out across different interactions. So that stands out for me there.
Omkar, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think predominantly, if I have to add, who are all the stakeholders in the revenue operations, and then why do we call them silos, or why do we need to bring them together? It's totally a bigger concept. But let me put this in like next couple of minutes. Let me cover this. So we have marketing operations, as Shreyansh mentioned, sales operations, uh, CS operations, finance, technology integrations, and data and analytics. So I think both Shreyansh and Shrikant has covered this predominantly. But let me deep dive a little bit into some of these functions individually and how RevOps works with each and every function. So considering marketing operations, right? So RevOps works with marketing teams to align marketing strategies with sales goals. This involves in optimizing the marketing processes and managing the marketing technology, and ensuring that there is an efficient flow of leads from your marketing automation engine to your sales automation engine, and the handover happens very smoothly. And this is the core and nutshell how RevOps collaborates with your marketing operations function. And then when it comes to the sales operations function, it also coordinates with the sales teams to optimize the entire sales process to reduce the number of days of the sales cycle, and implement effective sales strategies, and ensure there are like proper technologies that are used, say for example managing the sales data or analytics or tools or your coding process and everything. But I'll speak in detail about the tools for each and every department in the later part of the conversation. But when it comes to the customer success operations, RevOps collaborates with customer success teams to enhance the customer satisfaction and NPS surveys and a lot of other things, and then cross-selling, upselling the existing products. And also this involves in a lot of streamlining processes within your CRM, and as well as your ticketing platform, and as well as you need to integrate both of them seamlessly to ensure that the overall business strategy is being met. But the other key team that comes into the picture and kind of overlaps with the overall RevOps function is the finance team. Basically, once the sales is completed, the finance team comes into the picture in terms of the contracts, in terms of the renewal pricing, and in terms of packaging and everything. So all these things are very crucial for a deal to be closed. So I think though finance goes in hand with sales operations works closely with finance teams. Sometimes RevOps teams also work with the finance teams in terms of understanding the overall technology spend across the functions, and overall reducing sales cycles and everything. But there are two key operational elements that I would like to highlight here is the data and analytics. So RevOps focuses on leveraging the data and analytics to gain insights into the revenue generation process. This includes tracking the key performance indicators and analyzing the customer behavior, and use data-driven approach to make the decisions rather than your intuition. Basically, which product is going better, which product is not going better, what offers needs to be improved, what offers are picked up in the market. So these are the key important data analytics. And then last but not the least is the technology integration, the seamless integration between your CRM systems, marketing automation systems, software applications, CPQ applications, your data engines, and everything. It's basically owned and built by the RevOps teams. So when we discussed all these things, right, the first and foremost thing that comes into mind is a cross-functional collaboration, because one primary goal of Rev operations is to break the silos between all these functions and all these processes, and ensuring everyone is working towards the common objective of driving the growth for the business. So I mean, like, these are the key aspects that I would see that Rev operations is aiming to create more efficient and transparent and collaborative environment within the organization, ultimately it leads to your revenue outcomes. So
That was, yeah, please.
yeah, one quick point I would like to add is so what's happening with the changing in the dimensions, right? There is a kind of reorgs that are currently happening in the businesses. I think Shreyansh or Srikanth can m- add a little bit to it, because what I have seen personally is the sales org has usually is split into between the SDR org and or the BDR org and the sales org. But currently, what we are seeing is the SDR org has been getting aligned with to the demand generation team, which is the part of marketing team. So basically, that's because most of the leads that marketing generates will be directed to the SDR slash BDR org, and they nurture those leads, and then they fix up the appointments with the prospects, and then they hand over it to the sales. So we have seen a trend recently that these organizations are moving these places here and there. Say examples I previously have mentioned, like finance involvement in the sales operations, finance involvement in the revenue operations, just like the SDR involvement in the demand gen activities related to the marketing. So I think this is very crucial. SDRs and demand generation is very crucial teams to create top of the funnel leads, and then the leads would flow into the bottom of the funnel. So I think some of these are the recent changes that I've observed, and as well as I think it's being done after discussing with the rev operations team, because saying which works better than which. I mean, I would like to take a pause there and want Shreyansh or Srikanth to add something. Yeah.
Okay, so right before anybody starts, so I would like all of us to go back a little and dive into more of details around the role of, though Omkar, you have already explained it, but I would still need some more details from their experiences as well. So can you explain the role of sales operations, marketing operations, CS operations within the entire RevOps framework? How do they contribute to overall revenue growth and success? Shans, do you have any thoughts to add here based on your experience?
Sure. So let me start with marketing operations. That's a team which supports, historically, it was a team which was supporting marketing in generating top of the funnel leads. Then sales operation is generating on moving those leads which come from marketing into deals and moving them further. So that's the role of sales operation. And once a customer is acquired, then reducing your churn and keeping the customer happy is what customer operations or customer success teams do. And till now, finance was not involved. But this year and last year, we saw a lot of pressure of financial KPIs on each company with VC funds drying up. So finance is now playing a key role across. Where can we optimize our expenses? Where can we increase our revenue? That's a focus which all these three teams have to bring in. So that's a role of these individuals. And now what is happening is companies are understanding that we cannot keep these three separate. And that's where revenue operations teams are being built, where you will have either one person having the skill of marketing operations, sales operations. Generally, it's a team of 2 to 3 people in a larger organization where a customer success operations and marketing operations and sales operation work together with their individual teams to make sure everybody is aligned. I also say that it's almost like a PPT scenario where you have people, process, and technology. You have people who needs to understand the process, which is enabled by technology. And that's where the revenue operation comes in place. It brings all of these three elements, key elements together across. And then, as Om was saying, data is very key. You cannot go with spray and pray anymore. You don't have the dollars, you don't have the time to spend on spray and pray. So you have to have a data backed decision, and then you run small testings. And all these concepts require a very, very specific skills of marketing operations, sales operations, and customer success operations. So no more silos. It has to be in one team. If that answers your question, Ishneet.
Yeah, totally. So that was something new which I heard. Spray and pay. Thanks for that, Shreyansh.
It's a,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes. So, like we spoke about technologies and integrations, which Omkar and Shreyansh, both of them mentioned. So, I would like to go a bit deep into that. So, what are some key technologies and integrations used in RevOps, which basically helps streamline processes and then further enhances decision making? So, Shrikant, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So I think couple of we usually call them MarTech stack, where we kind of see in terms of what are the different technologies that we have. So traditionally, if you can just kind of want to build it from a scratch, it would be a marketing automation platform, CRM. Sometimes it's a single tool which kind of gives you both. Then the visitor intelligence kind of technologies have been being adopted more, just to see in terms of who is hitting up our website, so that we can kind of then understand what the demography is, what the persona is, and then kind of market to them. Then there are outreach tools, sales outreach tools, the likes of Salesloft and others. Outreach itself, where which sales teams can use. Then there are other kind of AI sales related tools, the likes of Aviso, Gong, Clary, and others, which kind of gives that predictability. So we have been touching briefly on the finance part, which basically I think closely related to the revenue uh, bucket. So we have those kind of tools. There's a lot of data analytics, like which Om mentioned about, in terms of the usage of the basic tools, so like Tableau and Power BI, for you to just give the whole customer funnel, right? So we kind of have different funnels there when these three teams are there. There's a marketing funnel, there's a sales funnel, there's a customer success funnel. Each have their own set of objectives, which Shreyansh alluded to. But to build the whole customer funnel in terms of the clients and the target accounts, in terms of what's happening, what's the interaction with each of these individual teams, and how that kind of gives an overarching picture to the RevOps function. So we can kind of build those from the data tools there, visualization softwares. So yeah, I think that kind of summarizes for me as a basic. If I have to put that as a, if say there's a new team, new startup who's just kind of eager to go to a RevOps function, I would probably term it as $0 MarTech stack, where you just use this basic level tiers across different tools and just do that, right? In terms of whether it's your CRM marketing automation platform, with your outreach. Now for customer success, you can have different tools. And of course, there's a huge piece of project management tools, the likes of Monday.com, ClickUp. There's so many out there. So I think this kind of helps each teams to know in terms of what they are doing, what's coming up next. Then there are a lot of other integration related tools, the likes of Zapier and others, where if you kind of want to have, we have different tools which needs proper integration and a seamless integration. We kind of sometimes use Zapier and other tools to have that connects between different systems so that they speak to each other, and we kind of have a unified picture in terms of how all the marketing, sales, and customer access activities are going on. So yeah, I would probably summarize this kind of as a basic tools one could begin with.
Okay, so like you mentioned, Shrikant, $0 marketing stack, right? So are we trying to say that, firstly, when somebody is right away starting RevOps as a function in their business or in their organization, so they should probably start with these starter level tools, and then once they have a hang of all the processes streamlined inside those, then they can probably go to the advanced level, which would
Yeah,
ultimately be paid tools or something like that. So are we trying to say that? Can you elaborate a
I
bit
would
here?
I would feel so. I would recommend that, given that in terms of how the overall RevOps process should be scaled within an organization, I think it's important to kind of test it out in the initial days in terms of what are the tools, which are the teams, how are they using it, right? And what is the process looking like? As I mentioned, each team has its own process there. And then kind of there's an alignment which connects the dots between different teams as well. So marketing funnel has its own set of process there. We have kind of lead scoring, alignment between lead and sales, and that gets passed on to the sales team. And then they have multiple things to look at. Sales kind of have marketing leads flowing in, and they kind of do their own outreach, right? They have their own set of targets, quota alignment, and whatnot. So they kind of do their own outreach. So they have their own set of leads or prospects that they need to tackle at. And then finally, customer success teams in terms of once they get to see the overall. That's where I think kind of the product analytics tools also kind of help for them to probably just see how the usage is, what is the churn, what is not. So yeah, I would recommend so for anyone starting out from scratch, they can probably test it out, see what is working, what is not, and then kind of see as the sophistication comes in place, as the teams grow, as they kind of pivot from say 0 to 1 to 1 to 10 journeys. This entire setup and process takes a toss, right? So that's when then they can probably adopt and embrace more advanced technologies that kind of matches their needs. And one caveat I would like to call here is that it's strategy first, technology next, right? Most of the times it gets easier for us to kind of attract to different tools. There were 8,000 plus tools that I saw last. If you remember, there's a good super graphic, not infographic, super graphic, which has different buckets of teams involved and what are the tools. There were 8,000 plus tools that anyone can probably take a look at, try it out, and then adopt. So it's easier for us to probably align our strategy depending on the new technologies that are coming, but that kind of falls flat after you try it out, right? Either the adoption takes a hit, either teams have it or they don't realize its potential as expected. So kind of have a strategy based approach first, see what's working, what's not, and then kind of once you also get a hang of these free tools, right? Then you can get a hang in terms of how they are working, how we can customize and adopt it. We should also have a talent pool that kind of needs to be able to configure that, admin that, and adopt it as the company scales. So I think this kind of plays a softer aspect in terms of how RevOps should function.
Okay, so I also had a similar experience in the past with respect to what you have mentioned, Srikant. We are basically attracted towards all the fancy functionalities that these tools offer. So while in the past when I was selecting those webinar, podcast, recording softwares, I was all over the place. Oh my God, this tool offers this function, but then I see the pricing and then I'm like, why not start with a basic tool first, start actually implementing it, get a hang of it, and then probably move towards those higher level tools that are there in the market. So yeah, I could totally relate to what you have said. Okay, so Omkar, though we have already touched based on it, but then how does RevOps function basically leverage data and analytics to gain insights for an informed decision making process? We would love to
Yeah.
have a bit of more detail there.
Yeah, before jumping there, I would like to add a little bit on
Sure.
what Srikanth said. I think I still remember this was my 2012 days. Scott Brinker, who is the current of VP ecosystem at HubSpot, so he has launched an infographic, and I remember, I think it was shared very across in the few limited people place. I've seen about vaguely 352 400-ish tools in 2012. And recently, when I saw that it has about 11,000 change tools in the marketing tech stack space. So that space has blown out like my belly. So, so, so it's like basically, I know you can't even imagine the kind of creativity, the kind of depth, and the kind of you know level of detail, the technologies that we have in place. But as Srikanth rightly pointed out, it's not the technology, it's the strategy that's the key driver in selecting a tool uh, before you make any decisions. Basically, I think the most important factor. Coming back to the question, like what are the different analytics or things that are key in order to make a decision process is, first of all, the data integration comes into the picture. First of all, for us to have a detailed uh, data or analysis, or to draw some conclusion, you need to have the integration between the tools. One tool needs to speak with another tool, and the data which is coming into the systems needs to be cleaned and enriched. say for example, marketing operations team, right? So you work with marketing operations team in order to enrich the prospect information. You work with the gong teams in order to enrich the customer information. You work with the sales teams for the forecasting. You work with the sales teams for lot of how would say forecasting plus territory alignments and changes and everything. And you also need to do a lot of technology alignment for the existing technology. So once you have all these data integrations, data cleansing, and organizing the data in picture, the most important metrics in the SaaS space that matters, they are cost of acquiring a customer, lifetime value. So these are the two important things. And the next stage where people are going is to predictive analytics. Basically, you are predicting your revenues based on the current data, because this current data is now real-time data, which is integrated right from your marketing attribution to your sales forecasting to your current closure and conversion rates and everything. Basically, how all these things will add to your revenue. And basically, it doesn't stop there. You have to continuously optimize your tools, processes, and systems and make changes to them to ensure that everything is perfect for your reporting process. So recently I've come across a post where the CEO and this guy is Max Meeder. Basically, he posted saying that RevOps at ServiceNow is 500 plus people globally, and he's saying that the organization has grown quite a lot at ServiceNow, and they have 17 people for pricing strategy and 65 people for the deal desk, and 42 people are dedicated to channel operations, and 7 people dedicated to customer outcomes, and then a lot of people sitting on their sales analytics, marketing segmentation analysis, and blah blah blah. So it means that it's not only about the technology; it is about segmenting your revenue operations into right chunk of pieces and to handle each and every process. So in that way, I think you'll be able to achieve right analytics and right numbers so that you can predict and forecast accurately. I think Shreyansh and Srikanth, if you love to answer or add something, that will be great.
Shreyansh, let's start with you.
No, I was just thinking when Om was talking about Scott Brinker. I think that was the time when maybe me and I don't know about Shrikant, but we entered the marketing operations function in the space. And it's like 15 years, but this industry has grown not just horizontally, like it's grown horizontally and vertically. More functions have been added to revenue operation. That's why the tech has increased, the whole cloud of the tech has increased, and more specialization also. So now with the I would say with AI coming in picture, it's going to a next level now. So that was on the tools, Ishneet. I just wanted to add that. So, and I don't think it's going to end. There's still a lot more coming in. So we have to be ready for upskilling, training ourselves. That's why. On the data side, um, I think when the whole concept of revenue operation, it was out of the whole reason why data is required. Because without data, these teams were never talking to each other. They were always, I would literally say they were fighting on data. That, hey, my data is right. No, my data is right. And that's what was creating the friction. And one of my sales coach told me this great thing that in a customer sales cycle, time is the essence. If you don't close a conversation, a deal in time, and customer has a sour experience, you lose the brand, you lose the customer, you lose the entire flow. So if the data is not there, and if these teams are fighting over data, the end result is customer having a bad experience. So data is key for bringing this alignment. And I think you cannot just separate out revenue operations. Like a revenue operation function cannot operate with a data model. it has to have a very robust across the team data structure where all the teams have the access to consistent data, same data point, and they are getting the same next steps, same best practices, same processes for that. I'll give you a very simple example. In one of the client interactions few months back, simple thing like a lead status. What definition a lead status what marketing had, sales had a very different definition. And they just spent 6 months in aligning on that because they did not have data. They were scrambling all across the place. Somebody was saying marketing has this data, somebody was saying sales has data. They lost 6 months of revenue creation in that company just because of this misalignment and things not moving fast. These are very small things. And that's where I feel revenue operations needs to optimize this data model so that all the team can easily, consistently trust that data and take decisions. So like I'm sure Om and Srikanth would add to that, but the biggest problem which I have seen in past was trusting the data. Is that data correct? Can I believe it? Can I take my next step on it? If not, then what's the point of having? So we have a lot of work as a revenue operation professionals. We have a lot of work. One, getting the data together. Second, making people trust that data. And third, making sure people take next steps based on that data. So yeah, that's I would say my two piece on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
think
that was
quick. Sorry, Ishni,
yes.
just
Yes,
wanted to
Omkar.
add a bit.
Please
Yeah,
continue. Yeah, yeah.
I think you need to stone the definitions basically. I think take time. Spend time with the teams,
Yeah.
cross-functional teams, stone them, and paste them on your desk, saying that yeah, this is my definition of work in progress. This is my definition of X. This is my definition of that. So otherwise, you're never going to have win the war in this world. So I think stoning them and freezing them makes a lot of sense. And don't change them frequently unless until it is really needed. In case if you are adding and removing, again, stone them, create a new stone, and then put them on the stone, and then share it with the teams. The best thing that I've done previously or currently is whenever anybody is going to create a campaign in Salesforce, there's a hyperlink that you can put as a button on Salesforce saying that when you click this link, you have always access to the campaign naming conventions, definitions of lead status values, and what is what and what is it. So in that way, you like it or not, people would be seeing it often, and then that gets implanted into their mind. Oh, these are the definitions. I can see them, rather than burying them under drives or some of the cloud storage. So making small things makes life much more easier. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So basically, data is king, but still you need to optimize it to, scale and grow. Okay, that was amazing. So we are just about time. I would wrap it up with a final question. So in one line, if you all three of you have to talk about exactly how SDR, sales development representatives, and demand gen collaborate with the RevOps model to accelerate the lead to funnel process. So a quick fire round. Shreyansh, let's start with you.
I would actually, Ishni, if you don't mind, I would skip that. I don't have too much experience with SDR teams, but I feel um, definitely what Om said uh, aligns with my thought a lot that SDR should not be part of sales teams, at least from my perspective. They should move into demand generation and marketing because they are the people who would filter out the quality leads to the sales team. They should be responsible. So they need to understand what are the lead sources, where did it came from, what is the priority of the lead. So they are I would say they are the filter for the quality of leads which is going to the sales. So SDRs moving to say marketing, at least in my mind, aligns better than SDR being part of sales. Again, not proven. People have been shuffling between these concepts. Still, a lot of companies have not tried this out, this model. So yeah, I think that's where the alignment has to bring that your SDR, BDR teams have to move into marketing and they understand the quality, what is an MQL and what is an SQL, and then pass it to the AE or the sales team. Yeah, that
Okay.
would be
Yeah,
my.
Shrikant, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what Shreyansh briefly mentioned about, if we can just kind of unpack that, that sales know-how and knowledge that SDRs and BDRs possess, putting that in the marketing process, at the end of the marketing funnel process, kind of changes in terms of how one looks at leads, right? Because marketing always thinks this was a qualified lead. You do so many campaigns, you feel that this fits your ICP, everything is matching it. We have also implemented the lead scoring. So this is a good lead that sales can kind of accept and then start the next kind of process involved there. But once kind of SDRs, having been through that grind earlier, they bring that knowledge and they can probably gauge that readiness, whether they have it or not, and then pass it to the sales funnel. I feel that kind of plays a key differentiator there. The other thing that I've not seen but hearing a lot from other podcasts and as different people marketing in communities is the maturity level of SDRs as well. If you kind of hire junior level SDRs, that kind of, in a way, not to generalize, but is kind of affecting the entire RevOps cycle, is what I'm hearing as such. Because at that, once the baton is being passed between those two teams, who are now kind of under the larger RevOps bucket, they should be able to gauge, they should have that maturity to understand in terms of have those initial conversations and then kind of pass it for the account managers or the sales teams to then probably pick it up and nurture further. So I do get that sense, and I kind of agree when someone says that even if they're junior SDRs or kind of mid-level SDRs, they should be trained enough in terms of from a business standpoint and also from a process standpoint to understand and ensure that that seamless shift happens between the leads across teams.
Okay. Yeah, Omkar, you're about to say something.
yeah. I mean, just wanted to add a quick liner here. Basically, as any good salesperson knows, not all leads are created equally. So it means that, like, basically, I think first we need to talk like how did the sales development was born, and basically why are they in place. So basically, sales development was born of necessity to bridge the divide between leads generated by the marketing teams and the salespeople, and who attempt to close the deal. Without sales development reps, the companies often struggle to generate qualified leads so they can sell more effectively. So, more importantly, SDR serves as a necessary link between the sales funnel and ensuring that salespeople don't basically engage in unwanted conversations or meaningless selling discussions. So, instead, they let salespeople to focus on closing the deal with the prospects who are ready to buy. So I think the where demand gen comes is basically they generate bulk volume of leads, and then the SDR org getting aligned more with the demand generation, basically, which is like sales prospecting and lead qualification process gets speeder, and by that you'll also building a effective demand generation machine as well as the SDR machine, and basically to in order to meet the needs and requirements of the revenue targets that we have. So, but I think this again involves a huge another set of meeting, I would say. But with respect to the time and everything, I think SDR org aligning with demand gen is the new norm that is happening, which is really good to have. But it doesn't mean that they are isolated from the sales org. They are also part of the sales org and as well as the demand gen org. Previously, it was only with sales org, not with marketing org. So now they have been a bridge between the sales and marketing orgs. That's where we see a lot of value that is coming in. Yeah, that's with that I'll end my comments.
Okay, so thanks, Omkar, for that. That was insightful. So we are right about time here. It's time to say our final goodbyes. Thank you so much, each one of you, for the extremely valuable insights that you have shared. And I am pretty sure the audience would extremely benefit from the information that we have shared around RevOps and how to build an effective RevOps model for your organization to grow. And this one goes to all the audience who is hearing out this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to review this recording later in detail. You can also review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other places. All the links have been dropped in the description box below. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day, and let's meet in the next episode. Bye bye.
Thanks a
Thanks,
Bye.
lot,
Ashish.
Ishneet. Thank you.
So, bye.